show is complete without predictions. Good thing about our show is we always hold ourselves accountable. So we'll let you guys know what we picked last year. I know he's super happy I found this data. But Frank, you get added to this list as well. So we really, really are dependent on you to carry us because I'm not expecting to catch lightning twice in the bottle with this one. So we're going to read a category. You're going to give us who your choice is for that award. And for the ones that I have the info for, I'll let you know how we did last year. So first one on the books is AL and NL breakout players. Who do you give me one player for each league?
All right, so again, this is a focus on fantasy. So I pick on my picks. Well, like for breakouts, that is. So for AL, I'm going Jarren Duran on the Red Sox. Last year he stole 24 bases in only 102 games. He's penciled in as the team's leadoff hitter. He still even hit 8 home runs during that span, Duran did. So, he's 27 years old. The Red Sox are really not a contending team. They should give him opportunities. I know the Red Sox have other young outfielders there, so if Duran struggles, there's a bit of risk. But I just love Duran's stolen base upside. Like, if he plays every day and gets to like 500 plus plate appearances, you could be looking at 35 plus stolen bases and close to 15 home runs. And his batting average, I mean, last year he hit 295, so he could hit at least 260. It's not like he strikes out like crazy. So that's speed upside with a bit of power makes Jarren Duran an AL breakout for me this season. And you want me to get into
Do,
the NL right away?
yeah, yeah. Do you got?
All
Yeah,
right, all right, all
let's
right. My
go.
bad.
Yeah. No, no,
The
you're good.
NL,
You're good.
my NL pick, I went with Jordan Walker on the Cardinals. He's still quite young. He had a lot of hype coming into last season, and he was relatively disappointing given the hype. But I mean, at 21 years old, he hit 276. He only struck out 22% of the time, still had 16 home runs. You know, the Cardinals need him. Lars Nootbaar and now Dylan Carlson even got hurt, and even Tommy Edman is hurt. So they got to depend on Walker in the outfield, and he's got a lot of power. Like I said, at 21 years old, able to do that, what he did in the majors. Even just getting to the big leagues at that age is impressive. Like a lot of other prospects are still in the minors at 21. So Jordan Walker's got a lot of power. He could hit 25 plus home runs, maybe even get to 15 steals. He stole 22 bases as a 20-year-old in Double A. So from a fantasy perspective, you love to hear that in terms of power and speed. So Jordan Walker is my NL breakout.
I like it. I like it. Um, I'm gonna go with Royce Lewis of the Twins as the AL breakout player. Now I know he's had 2 ACL injuries, so that's not a good thing. But in 70 games, listen to his hit line: 309, 372 in 548, 17 homers, 5 grand slams. I mean, that's amazing. 5 grand slams. The guy can hit under pressure. I'm going to go Royce Lewis, and I think he's flying under the radar too. And then NL, I'm going to go with my Pirate guy, Brian Hayes. He's
Love it.
already an elite defender, but his hitting since June. Listen to this, JT. You might like it. You might want to make a trade in fantasy baseball.
No, they're not giving him up.
His hitting in June has been legit, like elite. He's one of only 7 hitters, to post marks of 105 or above in both the Contact Plus and the BIP Plus rankings, which the other guys are Acuna, Mookie Betts, Arenado, Rushman, Bo Bichette, and Alex Baum. I mean, that's elite company since June. So I like how he makes contact. I like what he does when he makes the contact, when the ball's in play. So I'm going to go keep Brian Hayes out of the NL.
All right. So last year, I should have started off with the pick. So we did it as like a player to watch. And I will say, Don nailed this. This is like his bragging point for the whole year. Out of all the shit that he gets wrong, this is the one thing he like attaches himself to. His breakout player last year was Gunnar Henderson, and he swears he's an aficionado. And he also had Ryan Papoy. I had Yoshida for the Sox and Graham Ashcraft for the Reds. So it's clear to say he won that round. Any other bragging rights? Did I forget anything?
Don't need to brag when it's true.
Oh wow, I remember that. AL breakout players were kind of hard for me. I guess this guy kind of broke out a little bit in spurts. But I think he'll have a full season breakout, and this Josh Jung for the Rangers. That's my AL pick. Like he was on fire in the postseason. What a 867 OPS. Like that's part of the reason why the Rangers won. And you forget like he broke his thumb in August, and still like I think did he make the All Star as a rookie? So like it's there. Like I'm just looking at he stays healthy for a full season. He's got, a taste of success at the highest level of play. Like the monkey's off his back. Like he's already won a title. So all he has to do is just get better. And it's like, is this like kind of like a Bobby Witt type ascension? Like, is that what we're going to be looking at, either this year or the year after? So I picked him as my AL. And then for the NL, I'm going to go back to on the fence pitcher again. Maybe I'll strike gold. I'll get it wrong. Brandon Pfaadt for the Diamondbacks. Like, he was in and out of the rotation last year until late July. And then you forget he came back and started 10 games from that point. Like he had a decent ERA. I think like his strikeout to walk ratio was decent. So I'm like, all right, he went through the bumps and bruises last year. Don's always like, hey, like these young guys, they gotta lose everything and learn by fire before they can have success.
They got to take their bumps.
Exactly. That's exactly what he did last year. So I'm like, hey, look, man, they need him. So he's young. I think he's talented. So that would be my pick this year. All right. Next one. What's on the docket? Oh, AL/NL player that will disappoint.
All right. So this one, my AL disappointment will be Evan Carter of the Rangers. He was great as a rookie, and that's given some lofty expectations for this season. But we have to remember, in that rookie season, in a small sample, struck out 32% of the time. That's quite high. So if you're expecting, the 300 average we saw last season, it's probably unlikely. That's not to say this is not a talented young player. He's only 21. I just think we could be in store for a sophomore slump. He's projected, if you go to Fangraphs, around 15 home runs. He doesn't have quite the power yet. So for those who just saw him in his brief stint last year thinking Evan Carter, is ready to set the league on fire, I think we got to temper expectations.
And then
sorry, and the NL. I keep messing that up.
That's okay.
And the NL disappointment, I'm going with Zach Gallen of the D-backs, and it's for this reason. Last season, if you combine what Zach Gallen did with the playoffs in terms of innings pitched, because the D-backs, of course, went to the World Series, Zach Gallen threw 243 innings. Like, that's a heavy workload. And, we see, like, his previous career high was in 2022, 184 innings. Prior to that, it was 121. So it's a big jump, and we know pitching is a, risky position. Players get hurt all the time. I'm not saying Zach Gallen's necessarily going to get hurt, but you could see, a little bit fewer innings, and maybe he's not at his peak performance than like he was last season. And, Zach Gallen in fantasy drafts goes quite high, so I'm avoiding him this season just because of that heavy workload in 2023.
Oh, man, I had high hopes last year for Zach Gallen. I'm sure JT will get to that. So a little disappointed to hear that. But I'm going to go within the NL with the Braves, Chris Sale. I think the contract he signed, I think it was only 2 years, but he's turning 35. I think he's had some arm injuries lately. I think he's falling into that Max Scherzer situation of a year ago where a lot of hype to this team, but he's not gonna live up to the expectation, I don't think. And then on the AL side, unfortunately, I think it's already come true. It's Lucas Giolito. I think with the Red Sox, and not that I predicted this, but I'm just saying he's going to be the guy that was disappointing for them because he's hurt now. Like the UCL repair, he's out for the season, 2-year, $38.5 million contract. He's done for the year. Yes, I think it's not as bad of a surgery as some of the Tommy John issues that other pitchers have had, but he's done for the year. So to me, that's already the disappointment. The Red Sox really were looking forward to him adding to that rotation. So I don't know who in the AL can have a more disappointing season at this point than what just happened.
Yeah, you stole my answer. I actually put Chris Sale in mine too, so I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah, go with it.
Yeah, you're the GOAT. You're amazing. Anything else that I missed?
No one said all that. Relax over there, Jimmy Drama.
No. I'm gonna go on a limb here. I'm gonna be ridiculous, man, just because I told you I have to hate the Yankees on this show. So it's more of I think he'll be fine, but I'm gonna try to speak it into existence because I don't want them to be successful at all. But like I think he's the favorite for MVP for the AL. Is Aaron Judge, and I'm like, does he play up to that level? And I'm like, I don't think he does. And this team just has everything is going to go wrong written all over it, starting with Garrett Cole, like we already said. And I'm just like, is Judge going to be the guy I'm used to seeing, or is this like where the cliff starts to happen? He starts to go down. So I'm being, I hate to say like I want to see somebody get injured. I don't, but I just don't want them to win. And if he's not playing well, that means they will not win. So I'm going Aaron Judge will be disappointment. He won't be terrible, but he won't be the odds-on favorite to win the MVP type of player, I'm saying. All right, so next one. Bounce-back player. So this is just one player, regardless of league. So one player that will bounce back from a bad season last year. Frank, who do you got?
All right, I said earlier when we were talking about the Yankees, I was going to get into some Giancarlo Stanton. So that's my bounce-back player.
Let me turn my mic off.
You know, Giancarlo Stanton showed up to camp looking much slimmer. It's clear that, you know, he's frustrated the last couple seasons dealing with injuries. So you got to think, you know, he's really put an emphasis on his body trying to stay healthier. And you look at how hard he hits the ball. His barrel rate, Stanton, is still in line with, you know, his career norms. This is still a player who has elite power. You know, 24 homers in 101 games last year. It's not to say I think he'll get back to that 59 home run hitter we saw in his last year as a Marlin for Stanton, but I could see 2021 numbers again where you hit 35 homers, 97 RBI. I think Stanton will stay relatively healthy. Like, not to say he's going to, you know, play every game, but much better than the last 2 years. And I think he's going to bounce back and be quite effective for the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton's my pick.
I like that answer. If that hits, like ESPN's got to bring you on, Frank. If that hits, my bounce back player is going to be Carlos Correa. I think.
Come on, man!
I like
what are we doing here?
I told you not to let me go first.
Seriously. I feel like you're doing this on purpose. This is so ridiculous.
I told you, don't let me go in front of you before the show. Ladies and gentlemen,
the fact that you didn't even pick the guy on your own team that should have been your right answer. He was right there in your hometown, and you just you're disrespecting him by not even mentioning him.
Who's the bounce back guy from the Pirates that I got?
Mel Cruz.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Come on, man.
It's Carlos Correa because Correa has proven he can do it. I think the plantar fasciitis really messed him up last year.
Yeah,
he modified his offseason routine supposedly. So I think to what Frank was saying about Giancarlo Stanton, Correa realized he had to make some adjustments and did. And listen, I think they're in a weak division. He's still only 29, so the train hasn't left the station yet on him. I'm going Carlos Correa.
Love that.
I agree with you. That was my pick. And you forget, like he's only 29. You're always talking about age. He signed a 6-year, $200 million deal, and you forget like that wasn't even the highest offer he had in free agency. So people like really thought he still had a lot left in the tank. So I agree that injury sapped him last year. And I think he's healthy. Like you said, he changed his offseason routine, and I think he bounces back. So, I mean, I hate to say great minds think alike because you are not a great mind. So, let's go to teams.
See what I got to deal with here, Frank.
Hey, I love that call, man. I'm in.
No, you're saying, sir?
About Correa, I love the call. Not not that he's not a great mind.
I thought he was going to agree with me and say something.
No, I understood what you were saying.
Oh man, I'm trying to make it through this show with this one. All right, so breakout team. So we're talking about a team, for example, who could be the next Rangers or Diamondbacks. So who's your team that's that breakout team this year, Frank?
Okay, so I didn't pick a team that, you know, like the Rangers and Diamondbacks, people would have been surprised they made the playoffs last year, let alone get to the World Series. So I don't think this team will. I didn't choose like a massive underdog like the D-backs were, say, last year, but I chose a team that did not make the playoffs last year. Yeah, they just missed out. And it's the Seattle Mariners. You know, they're still a good team. It's not so much of an underdog, but like I said, they missed the playoffs last year. But that rotation is really good. Luis Castillo, George Kirby, you know, Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, Bryce Miller. that's 5 deep of really good arms. And of course, they have, an emerging superstar in Julio Rodriguez. They got Jorge Polanco from the Twins, who could be a bounce back candidate. So the lineup isn't like as good as say other contenders like in their division, even like the Rangers or Astros. But the Mariners pitching is just elite, like I said, and they even got an elite closer in Andres Munoz. So the Mariners have the recipe to make some noise, especially if they could get in with that rotation and get into the playoffs. That is.
Yeah, I mean they were super close last year. You got to think they take that next step. So that's a good answer, Frank. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds. I think they had some sneaky good offseason moves, Frankie Montas and Nick Martinez. And then you look at, they've got the young talent, but now they've got those veterans. And also they battled until that final weekend. I know they didn't maybe get quite as close as Seattle did, because I think Seattle literally went down to the last game with the Rangers, I think. But Cincinnati still battled till the last weekend. I just think personally, they just need a good start. They got to get through the bad weather games in Cincinnati, and when they go to the Cubs and when they go to Pittsburgh and wherever else, they just have to get off to a good start. They get off to a good start. They get that confidence. This is a dangerous team that I think could be that Rangers Diamondbacks, where all of a sudden you look up in October and you're like, how did this happen? So I'm going to go with the Reds.
I like those answers. I'm gonna go with the Tigers just because they play in the worst division in baseball, the AL Central. I mean, they have the situation to do it. I mean, they got nice young group of core players. Like they looked good second half of last year, and like that bullpen has gotten better. Like Screwball, Mize, guys like that. Like they could take a giant step forward this year. Like Frank, like Tariq is going way high in draft, so like people are predicting he's gonna be way up there when it comes to like Cy Young consideration. So like I feel like when you have this kind of hype around a team and people like the young core, like a Torkelson and Riley Green, like they're all there, and the opportunity is there to win games because the competition in the division is bad. So I'm saying just because of that scenario, I'm gonna pick the Tigers, which I'll probably be wrong.
That's a deep rotation.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's perfect. They're in a perfect situation.
Yeah. I really like that answer, JT. I'll give you props there. I'll give you credit because I had.
You thought I was going to say the Pirates, didn't you?
I had them as my second. I was trying to debate between the Tigers and Reds, and when you look at the Tigers, they added Jack Flaherty and Maeda.
He looks good,
and it just that is nice. And they're young hitters. They improved at the end of last year, and that's what you want to see is growth and development. So I really like that. That pick there that you've got. I think that is a potential there.
All right, so I got a chance. Now, this one, my answer is just strictly out of rage, but I could be right. But let's flip the script. The team that will disappoint.
All right, so this one was tough for me because I still like this team that I picked for disappointment. But when I'm looking at the playoff spots, I still think my Jays will get in. I think the Orioles are going to win the division. I think the Yankees are going to get in, and I picked the Mariners, so I think they're going to get in. So who's going to be left out? The Texas Rangers, the defending World Series champions. I know that lineup is completely stacked, and I love their rookie, who I'm going to get into soon when we talk about Rookie of the Year. But, their pitching staff, filled with injury risk, like Andrew Heaney, Nathan Eovaldi. Max Scherzer may be coming back, but he's on the decline, and he's getting older, and he's dealing with injuries too. Jake DeGrom, if he comes back this year, it's for like a cup of coffee in September or maybe the playoff run. So they've built a staff where they can piece it together and maybe hope that it works out, like whereas some of those guys are healthy at the same time. And I know the lineup is great. It's just that maybe they overachieved last year a bit because, they were surprised to even make the playoffs. So when looking at the landscape of the AL, like you mentioned, the Tigers got better. The Twins are still good. The Guardians are decent. So I know that AL Central is weak, but, those teams could still be, on the bubble. So it's a tough AL. And picking a disappointment is difficult, but I got to go with the Rangers because of their injury-prone pitching staff.
They were like my 1A team, Frank, so I'll go down to the 1B. But just to add on real quick about the Rangers, what you were saying is that Jordan Montgomery is not signed either, I don't think, yet. So you've got him out of the way. So like you said, the pitching, we'll see how that goes. And Scherzer is going to start on the DL. And with DeGrom, even if he does come back, he's coming back off a major injury. And you know the way that is in baseball, it takes that 1 year back. Then it's that second season where you really get to evaluate a guy. I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks simply because I think they overachieved. But then also Vegas says they're a plus 4,000. So when Vegas says that, but you've got the Mariners at only plus 2,000, I've got to believe Vegas does not believe in the Diamondbacks. So that's why I'm going to say in terms of teams that'll disappoint, I think it'll be Arizona, especially for their fans.
Damn. So what you're saying is you wouldn't even place that bet with Ohtani's money. Good job, man. I knew you were a gambler. I told you I'm making this pick because I'm mad because I went all in on this team last year and I was like, they're going to be the best thing ever. And they didn't do anything I thought they would. It is these guys right here. This is gonna be the most disappointing team. Just because I feel like everything I argued for this team last year is just like dissipated in a year. It's crazy. It's like there's been regressions across the board in this core that I thought would be amazing for like the next 5 years. And now we're talking about, is Vladdy gonna bounce back? Like Bo Bichette's only getting older. Like this great core that we thought we had is like it's just taking a step back. And I'm mad as hell about I picked them to win the World Series last year, and they did not win. They might make the playoffs, however you worked out your seeding, but I don't think I hope they don't make the playoffs. I don't think they'll be successful.
Hey, I don't like
they
this
should have did it last year
office.
when I wanted bragging rights. And they missed out on Ohtani. Like
that hurts. Well, hold on a second. You can't. We can't have Frank on the show, and then you say it's the Blue Jays that'll. So did you see what the guy? Did you see the hat the guy was wearing?
I brought the hat.
Read the room,
obviously,
JT.
I like him too. I picked them to win the series last year.
Read the room, JT.
That's my third favorite team in the league is the Blue Jays, man. Come on, like I will go there to watch a game. And
I totally get it, especially this offseason. What a disaster. The hope from being hopeful to getting Ohtani to signing Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to, like not doing much at all. I just hate how risk averse the front office is. Like you mentioned, they got a young core. The time to really push all the chips in and go all in and really go for a championship is now. Like, who's to say Vlad Jr. or Bichette even re-sign with the Jays? Like, what are you waiting for? So I get it. I get why you're disappointed and pessimistic.
He has anger in him too. See, the Blue Jays just do this to everyone.
Hold on though, the Ohtani thing, you've got to be realistic.
We thought he was going.
I got brainwashed.
Everybody thought he was going.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. At least Frank can admit it. Like he fell for the.
I fell for it.
He thought he was going there too. You were in Mexico on your fancy phone, like, oh, Ohtani's going. JT, you were trying to confirm the rumors.
Hold on, JT. That's because you were sending me false social media info.
You were trying to confirm the Ohtani
social media.
You were trying to confirm the Ohtani rumors with your Blue Jays insider.
Let's go. Frank, we can't keep Frank too long. Let's go.
All right, next one. AL/NL rookie to watch for. So before we do this, I'll give. Actually, I already give his. So we'll just do this. AL/NL rookie to watch for. So Frank, who do you have for both leagues?
So for the AL, I just picked Rookie of the Year, and that's going to be Wyatt Langford of the Rangers. High walk rate, a lot of power, a lot of speed. He's been tearing it up. Langford has in spring training. He earned a spot in the lineup. I mentioned teammate Evan Carter that I think could disappoint a bit, but I think this is the Rangers' young player that will just pop off. You could expect 25 homers, 20 steals, good plate discipline. If you're like a fantasy baseball nut like me that have been drafting like for a while, you saw his ADP just go like a rocket ship. Wyatt Langford is really hyped, and he's my pick for Rookie of the Year. I got him in betting 8-1 like a few weeks ago, and that was the same as Nolan Shanuel on the Angels. Like the betting line was awful on that one. For me, Langford is the favorite in the AL, especially now Jackson Holiday of the Orioles starting the year in the minors. So really high on Wyatt Langford. In the NL Rookie of the Year, you could go Jackson Chourio of the Brewers, but I'm going with Yamamoto and the Dodgers. I know he had a disappointing debut in Korea. He only lasted 1 inning. But, elite stuff there. He's got a great splitter. Obviously, he's on an amazing team in the Dodgers, so the wins will be there. When you see a young pitcher or a rookie pitcher really go off, it's hard for them not to win the award. And I think he's going to be the Rookie of the Year of the NL.
Frank, I like how you did the Rookie of the Year award stuff, because you could bring in the fantasy aspect, but then also that betting aspect. So good for the fans there. They got a little bit of extra bonus. I like to look at like what rookies to watch for, because sometimes rookies will come up halfway through the year and it doesn't quite make them eligible for the award, but they pop off and you're like, yo, who is this guy? So I totally agree though. Wyatt Langford, that's the guy. That's the only guy to really watch. I shouldn't say only, but that is the man to watch in the AL. NL, I'm going to go with somewhat of a surprise name, and I got to give my nephew Jackson credit here. I'm going to go James Wood, 6'7" with the Nats. I think at some point he's going to come up and he's going to kind of be, I'm not going to say De La Cruz type stuff, but I think he could kind of be that talk of the MLB on a team that probably won't do that good, but that is a guy to watch out for, if not early on, at least later in the year, and especially rolling into next season.
Yeah, I hate to piggyback off of Frank, but I feel like the two picks aren't even close. Like, it's those two guys. It's Wyatt and Yamamoto, just because of their situations. Like, I would love Jackson to have been in this conversation, but like you said, like, he's starting in the minors. Like, that's the best prospect in baseball. I would love to see him start, like, in the majors, like, day one, but that's not the case. So, I mean, I don't bet, but if I had to go put money in Vegas, I'm going with those two, Wyatt and Yamamoto. And next on the list, I know he's going to love this one. AL NL Cy Young.
All right, AL Cy Young, I'm going with the Baltimore Orioles, big addition, Corbin Burns. He's coming off a down year. But let's remember, at the beginning of last year, it was clear he did not want to be with the Brewers. And we mentioned about how, when an athlete is not happy and they're not happy where they are, they're not going to be at peak performance. I think that's what we saw with Corbin Burns last year. Now going from the NL to the AL, facing a lot of hitters that haven't seen him frequently. So I think Burns is going to get back to that Cy Young form and win the award. Not to mention that it's a contract year for Corbin Burns. I always like that as like a little sprinkle on top of like a positive, trade on why that player will do well. And, I think Burns, we've seen him do it in the past. He's a complete ace. He goes, if you're talking fantasy, he goes in the top 3 fantasy pitchers. And now with Garrett Cole injured, that opens up, obviously makes Burns one of the favorites for AL Cy Young, and I think he wins the award. Speaking of favorites, my NL pick has to be Spencer Strider for Cy Young. I know it's the chalk pick, but I mean, the K rate is insane. And now Spencer Strider added a curveball to already an elite repertoire, that fastball and everything that he has. So he could get close to 300 strikeouts, and he's on the Atlanta Braves, an elite team. I could see Glasnow challenging him, but I don't know if the innings will be there enough to compete with Strider. So I got to stick with Spencer Strider to win NL Cy Young.
Man, those are
big guns.
Yeah, those are 2 strong picks. I don't really know if I want to give my answer anymore.
Well, let's give your answers from last year. You want to do that? So Don's Cy Young's picks last year were Emmanuel Clase and Zach Gallen. Oh, you're right. He would make a reappearance at this show. And then I picked DeGrom and Spencer Strider. So we missed on both of those.
I'm this year, AL, I'm going to go Framber Valdez through the no-hitter last year. He's with the Astros. So the way I look at it is he's going to be around. If he has even a remotely good season, his name's going to be thrown around for Cy Young, because I think they're going to be there toward the end. Then the NL, I'm going to go Logan Webb of the Giants. He's had a rough spring training, but to me, I'm like, all right, that's good, because get all that bad stuff out early, and then come regular season, you're good. And there's another reason why I went Logan Webb, which I'll explain in just a little bit. But those are my 2.
All right. Well, I definitely agree with you on the Burns. So that was my pick. And to show you how much I believe in him, I did my first fantasy draft this year. My second and third picks were Garrett Cole and Burns. So I need Burns to win the Cy Young, because I don't have Garrett Cole anymore. So I need him to be everything you said he's going to be and more. So that was that was my pick. And then I actually did go with Glass now, and I was kind of scared to do it just for what you said. Like, I think he barely hits 120 innings or something like that. But I think just him being with the Dodgers, I think is going to I think they're going to cut him loose. And he's shown if you give him more work, like he can get the job done. Like he's up there with some of your favorite elite pitchers. It's just we haven't seen the big sample size, and I think he finally gets it. Like he's on a team where they're going to need him to do it. So I got Glass now, and I got Burns. But I feel much better now that you said he's the lock favorite to win it. Like he's basically chalk. So my fantasy team is not toast because Garrett Cole's not coming back.
I want to add one quick thing before we go to the other award about Logan Webb, a little tidbit. Adding Matt Chapman at third base, elite defender, and Logan Webb is like a big-time ground ball pitcher. You know, it could help him as well. So just a little added point there that, you know, speaks to your pick. Nice.
Okay. That makes me feel better because after hearing some of the names you guys were throwing around, and I know Logan Webb struggled in spring training, I was like, So I like hearing that. I like hearing that.
But you went to your clutch insider to like you won't even let me talk to him for advice. So I knew you were trying to show me up on this show. All right, we got 2 more awards left. Big boys. This is what we pay you guys the money for. AL, NL,
That's why we
MVP.
bring Frank in. That's why we bring Frank in.
No, because you know when you start hitting on these picks too, you know you start gloating. So I'm expecting great things from you too. So don't shy away. But AL, NL, MVP.
Okay, AL MVP, I'm going Juan Soto. You know, going to the Yankees, he's in a contract year, another contract year pick to go along with Corbin Burns. But, you know, playing in Yankee Stadium in that short porch and right as a left-handed hitter, Juan Soto could, you know, approach or even set a career high in home runs. We've already seen Soto doing really well in spring. And, you know, the Garrett Cole injury it could help Soto win this award because if the Yankees, you know, let's say Cole pitches like 80 innings this year and the Yankees still make the playoffs or even win the division and Soto has a good year, hey, he was a big reason they won. That could be favorable to the voters. And Aaron Judge is the favorite. Soto's probably ranked second in odds. But Aaron Judge, as you mentioned earlier on the episode, misses time here and there. He has these lingering injuries. In fact, Aaron Judge already had a lingering injury this spring. What was it? I think I forget what. Yeah, his toe or whatever.
Toe, yeah.
So yeah, he gets banged up. So Juan Soto's been pretty healthy throughout his career. You know, 700 plus plate appearances. I think each of the last couple of years. I think he's my favorite pick for AL MVP for the Yankees. And then NL MVP, I mentioned him earlier. It's Fernando Tatis. And in fact, losing Soto, and if the Padres make the playoffs or make some noise, that could be good for Tatis's chances with voters because he could carry them towards the playoffs. Well, obviously, they're not as good on paper. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, Tatis, we've seen him be able to really crush the baseball, 20+% barrel rate in 2021. For context, that's like Aaron Judge level. That's like peak. That's like top in MLB in terms of quality of contact. And Fernando Tatis can run. You know, if we were looking at if we want to get advanced stats like WAR, like I think Fernando Tatis earlier in his career, he was worth 7.3 WAR in 2021. That's MVP like numbers. So I think especially if you could carry the Padres, Tatis is a nice pick.
Yeah. Before I go, know thyself 2011 Brian Reynolds for MVP. Listen, I'm not gonna go that far
because you have no guts. This is your team. They got all these sexy picks that will make you like a genius. You didn't talk about any of them.
I did keep Brian Hayes. I talked about Hayes.
After Know Thyself guilted you into it. You weren't going to say anything about the Pirates.
No. I had Key Brian.
You had to say Pirates world champs before you said anything about their players.
That's not true. But I like the Pittsburgh Pirates love on this show from the fans. So
before you go, I gotta give you your props because I'm going to give our MVP picks from last year. So you nailed the AL MVP, which was Ohtani, and then you also picked Tatis to win for NL, and I picked Jose Ramirez in the AL and also Juan Soto. So what route are you going this year? You know, because you're so great at these predictions, man.
Who said you keep saying that? I never said it. Listen, I'm going to go with Frank Tatis Jr. I'm on board with it.
You going back to back Tatis picks?
Yup. Unlike you, I stay loyal. With my.
I haven't even gone yet, so you don't even know anything about me.
You already bashed Soto earlier.
No, I didn't. You did.
You said that.
I said he's going to live up to the expectations.
Yeah, because
he's going to finally live up to the expectations that I had from last year.
Because he didn't have a good year last year. So I'm going Tatis and Frank. Did you say Judge in the AL?
No, I said Soto.
Okay, Soto. I wasn't sure which Yankee guy. I'm going to go with Bobby Witt Jr.
Hey,
batted 276, 30 homers.
That's your type of player. You love Bobby Witt.
He barely misses games, which I love. That puts you in the running right away. And Frank, is this right? He had 49 stolen bases.
Yeah. And
I mean, Mamma Mia. Listen, sign me up. 30 homers, 49 stolen bases, doesn't miss games, and sneaky. The Royals, right? He's with the Royals, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
The Royals could be a sneaky team. I know none of us picked them, but they're in that weak division that we talk about. Which watch it be
stay healthy though, man.
Watch it be the best. Watch it be the best division.
If you tell me like somebody like Pascal Antino's going to play all the games, like I'm like, ooh, now I'm interested.
But that's the thing. Bobby Witt Jr. He barely misses games so far. JT.
Oh man.
I got a good staff for you that I tweeted out. I had to dig deep. I tweeted this one like in December on Bobby Witt. From June 1st onwards, he hit 303 with 20 homers and 32 steals. So that's like crazy. He attempted 44 steals, so they let him run wild. And he trimmed his strikeout rate by 8.2% during that stretch. So he really took a leap as a hitter into potential like superstardom. So I could absolutely see Bobby Witt Jr. having a big year and maybe winning the award.
Okay, listen, Frank's making me feel good with these picks. I mean, Frank,
you're giving him good luck, which means he'll never shut up. So thank you. I know who to call when this blows up in my face. I do like your picks. I like Bobby Witt too. So NL, I had Mookie Betts just because I think they're going to need him to be the constant with all the distractions going on that team this year, and I think he's in a good position to win it. And for those of you who say that I don't support my picks and I switch sides, I don't, because I agree with Frank. I'm going Soto to win the MVP, and I'm picking him again for a second straight year. So guess what, Soto? If you're watching, you better not let me down because you made me look bad last year. So those are my two picks for MVP. Now, the big dog, World Series matchup and winner. Frank, who you got?
All right, so I'm going to stick with my surprising team. I'm going to go with the Mariners to get to the World Series just behind that stacked rotation I mentioned earlier. And I think the Mariners are going to lose to the Atlanta Braves. You know, the Braves last year had an amazing season, and they really were a letdown in the playoffs. And I think they're going to bounce back from that. They're just completely stacked. I know you are down on Chris Sale, both of you, but I think the change of scenery is going to do well for him, and he's healthy. Last year he's coming off the injury. I think he could be, quite effective. Spencer Strider could be even better this season, and obviously that lineup is stacked. So I think the Braves are going to be the World Series champions this year over the surprise Mariners.
That's a pretty good matchup if that's what goes down. Beauty and Elise says Rays 2024. So
we'll see. But so all right. Rays didn't win last year, but we got to talk about who we picked. And these teams definitely did not win last year. So Don, you picked the Jays versus the Phillies in the series. You picked the Jays as the winners.
But the Phillies made it, did they not?
Oh, no, you were all over the Jays.
No, they were close.
The year before. And
it was the Diamondbacks. It was the Diamondbacks. My fault. Yeah.
And then the Padres and the Jays, I picked the Padres to win it also. Obviously, we did not get those right. So let's be wrong again.
Let's help the listeners at home. Whatever JT and I pick,
do not put your money on.
Make sure you listen to Frank. There we go. Listen to Frank.
Who you got?
All right. I'm going back with the Blue Jays. I'm loyal.
Let's go.
I'm loyal to a fault. There is no way that they're going to do that 2 years in a row. I'm going Blue Jays. And then I'm going San Francisco Giants. And that's why I go back to the Logan Webb pick. The Giants last year at one point, they were in the mix. They fell off, I think, at the end. But if they had some pitching, which now I think they do with Blake Snell, they could have been in that Diamondbacks position last year. And I think that's who jumps the Diamondbacks. I think it's the Giants. So I've got Giants, Blue Jays. In the end, I'm gonna say Giants just because.
Wow, all that to just not pick the Blue Jays.
Just because of what they've done.
I can't deal with you. All this false bravado for you to just do this scary thing. All right, so those are good picks. Frank, I agree with you. I actually did have the Braves making it, but you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and who I think are gonna face the Braves in the World Series. Rays 2024, baby. Wow. I want peace in my house. I am tired of seeing the Rays get close and no cigar. I'm tired of seeing the crying every playoff exit. You know, I want some happiness in my house. So the Rays versus the Braves, and the Rays will win the World Series this year. We got money on it. Like I said, I want happiness.
Let's see some Frank, Junior Caminero.
Frank, you heard earlier in the show that he says he doesn't bet, but you heard
I didn't say I placed it. I didn't say I placed it. Hey, I might have had an interpreter put it in.
It's a house. Yeah, it's a household.
Hey, look.
Hey, you guys are commingling funds.
You say it doesn't count. It don't count in real life. So my interpreter might have put the money down. It's up to you guys to launch an investigation to find out what really happened. I don't know how he keeps his records. But
JT, after the show, you can tell us who your true pick is.
No, it really is the Rays.
Right.
This is the team I want them to win. I want them to win because my team is nowhere close to winning a World Series. The Marlins, obviously. I've seen them win 2 World Series. I've seen them win a World Series live in person. I know how that feels. It's amazing.
Blink twice if you were forced to make
the Rays pick. I do want to see the Rays win. I'm rocking their throwback. I want to see them win.
Frank, you do understand the other person in his household is a huge Rays fan. Just to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, I know. I got that.
Okay.
I want to see him win. So Rays against Braves, Rays win it all.
That would be wild. Hey, you never know. They still got talent there.